So I just want to make a quick video speaking to my fellow middle-aged, I guess that's what we're called, middle-aged um, people out there, 30s, 40s, I guess that kind of range. And the message I want to say is to know your limitations. I often see these videos on social media, like the one where the guy was with the older gentleman. He called him Coach, and Coach thought that he was still 20 something. So Coach gets up on the pull-up bar and tries to do all of these fancy maneuvers on the pull-up bar and ends up falling on his back, being knocked out. I saw another video where there was this guy who was in a locker room with these young guys. One of the young guys did a backflip. The older guy gets excited, starts dancing, and tries to do a backflip too, and ends up landing on his head. Heck, we saw the Mike Tyson fight with Jake Paul. You know, there comes a time where we have to realize that we're not the same person that we used to be. We might not be able to move like we used to be able to move. We can't run like we used to run. We can't jump like we used to jump. And don't get me wrong. I mean, a lot of us still are active. We stay in the gym. Like I go to the gym often. I go jogging and running. I train all types of ways. So I understand, you do what you can, but we do have to be honest with ourselves when it comes to understanding our own mortality, when it comes to understanding our own abilities as it pertains to the world around us. Far too often, you see these situations where these older guys are sitting here trying to get into fights with these younger guys, and that's terrible. But like, by all means, demand respect. Do not put up with disrespect. Stand up for yourself. I completely understand that. By all means, that there's an old saying that says, I'd rather die on my feet than live my life on my knees, meaning I'm not going to sit here and walk around with my tail tucked because I'm intimidated by some. No, don't walk around intimidated, but don't go looking for trouble either. Every situation is not worth responding to. And the thing is, when you're younger, your body naturally has increased strength, increased flexibility, increased endurance, and that gradually fades as we become older. So as we become older, we have to become smarter. So when we have battles, when we have conflicts, then as we become older, we have to start using our mind more and understanding how to handle those with our mind more than our physical capabilities. And that's even if you take care of your physical, even if you exercise regularly, even if you run, you lift weights, you train martial arts or boxing and whatever else, there still is a deterioration that happens as we become older. And we have to be aware of that, be conscious of that, and take that into consideration in the type of circumstances that we have. In doing so, we can make smarter decisions. We can handle those conflicts better in a more intelligent way rather than just rushing in like with some young bull when up against somebody who really is a young bull. You know what I mean? Like you got to be smart. You got to understand, you fight differently. That doesn't mean you're not tough. That doesn't mean that you don't represent, as you need to. And that doesn't mean that you need to ever cower away. But sometimes you have to realize also what your limitations are, what you are against. If you're 48 years old and 48 years old, 160 pounds and kind of weak, you can't run a mile, you can only lift 100 pounds or something like that. And you're standing up against some young 22-year-old, 25-year-old who is 6'3", 240 pounds, all muscle athlete, then that's not a smart fight to take on. Don't take the mess. I'm not saying don't stick up for yourself. I'm not saying don't stand up for yourself. But what I am saying is you got to fight smarter. You have to fight smarter than that, whatever that means along that lines. In some cases, you might be walking down the alley, you get attacked, well, you fighting for your life at that point. So you're gonna do whatever you need to do and use whatever tools, if you know what I'm saying, whatever tools you have upon your person in order to defend yourself. That's fighting smarter because you're not sitting here talking about you getting jumped in the alley and you're not, instead of trying to fight with brawn, you're fighting with your mind and using the tools that you have at your disposal and then getting away escaping the situation. That doesn't mean that you need to, so I'm not saying that you need to run and cower. I'm not saying that you need to be fearful or anything like that. But what I am saying is that you got to be smart. You got to use your mind. You got to understand what you're working with and what you're not working with and what you are up against in any circumstance. And stop trying to show off to prove a point about how big and tough and strong you still are. Because at the end of the day, just like with that coach that decided to do that backflip and landed on his head, it wasn't worth it. Just like with the who tried to, or the coach who tried to get up and do the pull up maneuver, it wasn't worth it. At the end of the day, you don't have anything to prove, but you do need to make it through your circumstances. So know your limits, stand up for yourself, be strong, don't be scared, but know your limits and work smarter instead of harder. Smarter instead of harder.